Hey everyone, I'm Gracie. Welcome to the Grace of a Military Child podcast. The world should know how unique military children are. We may look like normal children on the outside, but we go through some pretty extraordinary circumstances that shape us to the leaders we are today. Keep listening to hear the incredible journey this week's guest has been on. Hi Alana, welcome to the podcast. How are you?
Hi, I'm doing good today. How are you?
I'm doing good. So tell me a little bit about who served in the military and what that experience was like.
So my mother enlisted into the Air Force, and she's been in now for about 15 years. She's admin, and that experience has been great for me. We've been able to be stationed on Joint Base Andrews and Fort Sam Houston. So those experiences have been great. They've allowed me to make connections with friends that I still talk to today. They've also allowed me to meet people who can set me up for opportunities just beyond high school and like for my career. So yeah, it's been a pretty great experience for me.
That's awesome. So you mentioned Andrews and Fort Sam. Have you lived anywhere else?
So most recently, we've been in Cincinnati, Ohio. I've been there for about 3 years prior to me enlisting into the Space Force. And that's been pretty great.
That's so cool. What's it like moving, even just like the few times that you did? What is it like moving and leaving friends or making new friends?
So, moving is always really hard, especially when you're younger. It's like, why do we have to go? Like, I already made friends. Like, I'm never going to make any other friends. So it's always hard. But luckily, I've been fortunate enough to move from military base to military base. So military children, I'm pretty sure we're used to moving. We're always welcoming. So I've been lucky enough to be welcomed with open arms every base I went to. So
yeah, that's the nice thing about moving military base to military base instead of like military base to civilian to military. Like military kids get it and they understand more.
Right. My senior year of high school, I went to Indian Hill High School, and that's a civilian school. They were not used to military people at all, but they still embraced us with open hands. And I feel like I was really fortunate to have that experience, even with people who were civilians and weren't used to seeing people in uniforms. Like my mom would bring me lunch sometimes, and she would be in her uniform coming from work, and they'd be like, "Oh my goodness, thank you for serving," every single time. So yeah, we've been fortunate.
Yeah, I think it all depends on the area of the school and just kind of the experiences that those kids have gone through. If you're closer to a military base, then, you're more than likely to experience getting a few military kids in and out. But if you're not, then it's like a whole new world. It's different. You're trying to figure out how to welcome these kids and how to even navigate friendship with them, even though, we might be moving in a couple years.
Right. Yeah. I think that's a big part of it. Definitely other people's experiences.
Yeah.
For sure. I agree.
Yeah. Did you go to military schools for most of your education growing up?
So growing up, when we were on Joint Base Andrews from kindergarten to 4th grade, I went to a school that was right outside of the base. And then we moved to Fort Sam Houston, and I went to school on base. My senior year was the only year we lived off base or attended a school that was off base. So most of my high school career was spent on a military base.
What's the difference, or what do you prefer, on base school or off base? Not that you had much time off base, but
I would say on base. at least where I was at, my experience, there are a lot more rules. And I thought they were more common, like through public schools, off base, nationwide. I just thought these rules were normal standards that every school should have. So when I went to another school my senior year, I was like, we can wear short shorts, like we couldn't wear ripped jeans, like,
Exactly.
just stuff like that. So I do say there is a difference. I wouldn't say it's bad, but it's definitely different. I will say some schools on base are a little bit stricter, more disciplined. And I think honestly, I prefer that.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's just for me.
Yeah, no, I would agree with that. And going through different schools and even between middle school and high school, it's different too. Going through those different rules and military bases. I mean, you think of military. Even when I was moving and I was like military school, I was like kind of freaked out. I was like, well, I don't even know what to expect because I did public school first before I did military on base schools. And I was like, military schools seem so strict. Like that was just my perception of it. And then when I got there, I was like, okay, it's still pretty strict, but it's not, as strict as it could be. Like
right.
it's not
that bad.
Right. And I was very fortunate, living in Texas at San Antonio. I was like, I thought we were going to have to wear uniforms and I was not wearing a uniform. So I feel that was very fortunate about military schools too.
See, yeah, for me, when I was in Maryland at Joint Base Andrews, I was in uniform, and then I came to Texas and I was like, wait, I can't wear a uniform anymore? Like, for me, that was a letdown. Yeah.
I had done public school in Ohio, and there was like no uniform. It was not very strict at all, like looking back at it. But I was also in like 4th grade, so I wasn't wearing like completely crazy clothes. But going to Texas, I remember even walking down the wings of the elementary school, and there was one woman, I forget who she was, but she stopped me and she had me put my arms down, and she was like, your skirt is a little too short. And I was like, okay, like I didn't know. That was like when I first moved to there, and it was like the weirdest experience because I never remembered having to do that in Ohio.
Right. That's definitely one thing that I will say. The dress code is more enforced for sure.
Yeah, that is true. I think public school and military school, or, being in a school with a large community of military, I think they both have their pros and cons, and they each feel a little different. And even different military schools, like you were saying, with the uniforms and not the uniforms, like they're each different in their own ways. Right.
Yeah, I agree. I prefer the education that I had to where it was kind of a stricter way from middle school, elementary to high school at Fort Sam, to finally like being able to wear whatever I wanted in my senior year of high school. So felt like that was a good balance for me.
Yes, for sure. What are some moments in your childhood and growing up around military bases and around service members? What sticks out to you?
So for me, my mom, she was a single parent. So she's been a single parent for the past 20 years. And so for me, just really the community, because we would have coworkers, like if she had to stay late for work, we would go over their house after school so they could watch us until my mom gets off of work. Like just how much we take care of one another.
Mm-hmm.
That's like a big thing that stuck out to me. I had a news video taken of me for being the first person in Ohio to enlist into the Space Force. And the thing that I said, like why I joined is because like it's like a big family. It really is. It's like a really close-knit community. We all have had like I've had several friends cry because their parents deployed and like had to comfort them and vice versa. So yeah, I think that's the big thing that sticks out to me.
Yeah. Did your mom ever deploy when you remembered?
So no, she never deployed for us because she was a single parent. However, she was up to deploy when we were in Maryland, Joint Base Andrews. And one of her friends took her spot because they didn't want her to deploy. They wanted her to stay home. So, just sacrifices like that.
Right. That's a different experience than, most kids have too, is there is a large community of kids who have a parent who never deploys, but there's also a large community where, a parent is in and out and is deploying all the time. So it's a special, I can't think of the word, but it's special to have your mom there and not be deploying and having that extra stress and worry on you.
Right. Because I definitely remember being in elementary school and just hearing that she'd been selected to deploy. And I'm like, so we're going to have to move back to Texas and be my grandparents, like it is a whole different thing. So, yeah, I definitely agree.
Yeah. And it's nice to have those moments of relief where you find out your mom's not deploying.
Right.
Yeah. So what kind of, besides like the community, was there anything else that stuck out to you about wanting to join the military yourself?
So for me, I've always been in sports. I was in 5 sports in high school. So I've always been into sports. For me, pushing myself physically was something that's important to me. And it's something that I plan on continuing to do. So that was one aspect of it, but then also just challenging myself, whether it be like academically or just taking on new leadership positions. Like that was something that also interested me, because seeing my mom from where she came to where she is now, how many awards she's gotten, how much like she's grown as a person from it. It's amazing. So definitely just challenging myself. I seen a challenge and I wanted to accept it. So yeah.
Yeah. And that's something that the military does offer you for sure. Was there a specific reason that you chose the Space Force over other branches?
So initially I went in, my first visit to a recruiter ever was to a Navy recruiter. Cause I received a text message asking if I was interested to enlist. And I was like, you know what, why not? This is something that I've been wanting to do. And so I met with the Navy recruiters and, it was cool, but I didn't really take on to their culture, to the culture that was the Navy. So I talked to my mom and she gave me my recruiter's information. So I talked to him. I initially wanted to be in the Air Force because my mom was in the Air Force. I felt like, why not do something that my mom did and maybe do it better? So that's why when I got matched with the space job, I initially was shocked because it wasn't what I expected to get matched with. However, it was different. It was something new. And I felt like as we continue to build our culture that is in the Space Force, as we continue to grow, create new regulations and whatnot, become more diverse, I just felt like it was the branch for me.
Yeah, that's super awesome. And what was it like being the first person from Ohio to join? Or how did you even figure that you were the first person to join?
So I received a call from a news anchor, Adam Clemens from Local 12 News. And he was like, hello, is this Alana Love? And I'm like, who is this? Who is this unknown number that is calling me? And he's like, I received a message from a recruiter in Virginia. So not even my recruiter let him know.
Yeah.
Another recruiter. And so he was like, I just really want to get this story on you because it'll be really cool. You're the first in Ohio, and you're making history. So I think like we should definitely get together and like put you on the news. So that was like really interesting because I really didn't expect it.
Yeah.
Because from my understanding, I didn't think I was the first. I thought I was maybe like the first 5. But, yeah, so that was really interesting. I had a great experience. My interview went really good. So yeah.
That's really cool. And it's really cool to say I was the first person from Ohio to join the Space Force. And not even only that, but being the first female to join it from Ohio too.
Right. And I feel like that's why this is so much of a blessing, because not only have I met other people who were the first in their state, I've also met people who transitioned from Air Force to the Space Force. And so they're being fortunate enough to see how, as a Space Force, we're creating our own culture and building new rules and regulations and standards. So it's pretty cool.
That is cool. And, each branch has their own kind of community, and forming that for the Space Force and being part of that first generation is really cool to say you were a part of.
Yeah, for sure. It definitely is.
Yeah. This is probably going to be the most stupidest question I'm going to ask, but are you going to go to space at one point?
No, I am not. Everybody asks that question, so it's not dumb. It's not dumb.
It's the most popular question.
Yes. So we do not go to space. We just manage satellite systems and missile warning detection systems. So that is our job. We're behind a console all day, every day. So maybe not as interesting or intriguing as you would think. But yeah, we do not go to space. Although we did used to wear flight suits. So
you would think you'd go to space.
Yes. Yeah. I believe they did say that they're letting Space Force officers become astronauts.
Okay.
They're under the Space Force. So that might be a thing soon.
But not right now. You kind of manage space things.
No. Yeah, for sure.
That is still cool to say that, you're not working actually in space, but you're working in space at the same point.
Right. Yep. It's cool for sure. It's a lot that we learn about. So currently in technical training, so we learn a lot about space, even though it's like we don't go to space. So we learn so much, and it's really a lot. But the more I learn, the more I'm intrigued, and the more I'm like, wow, this is really cool. It's really such a cool experience that I'm only going to grow from. Like, we learn about commercial companies such as SpaceX or Boeing, and we learn about what they do and their space lift capabilities and whatnot. So it's really cool.
That is cool. And not just learning, about the technical side of it, but learning, those other aspects as well is really, really cool to know.
Yeah, for sure.
If you got the option to be one of those people that potentially could go to astronaut school or whatever and be an astronaut, would you?
I probably would, but I'm terrified of heights. So
that's a kind of a high height there.
Yeah. So even just like I cannot think of the man's name. What is his name? It's some billionaire that just went to space. and they reached only the Kármán line. So they didn't even reach full orbit, but they just went to space. And I'm like, I couldn't even do that. Like, just feeling my body be up in the air, like I would be freaking out.
And zero gravity.
Right?
Yeah. At some point, it sounds really cool to have that opportunity and say, hey, I went to space. Like when I was throwing around job options in my head, I was like, it would be really cool to go to space. But then at the same point, it's like most people are up there for months or years or, on these missions, and then zero gravity. And then you have to learn how to walk again with gravity.
Right, exactly. It's totally different than just being here on Earth. Even there's this thing called the twin paradox. So it's like you send one twin up to space and you like keep one in Earth.
Yeah.
And just see how much they age or how their bodies change. It's interesting.
Yeah, especially because a lot of research says when you go up to space, you grow because you're not compressing your spine as much, just being vertical. And then when you come back down to Earth, you're taller. And then as you're here for longer, gravity pulls you down and you end up shrinking more or less.
Right. Yeah, that's exactly how it is. It's so crazy.
Yes, for sure. So you mentioned that you did sports. What kind of sports did you do and what drew you into the sports?
So growing up, my mom, she put me onto the youth services on base. So I've always done some kind of base sport. I remember doing like t-ball, and I did soccer. I also did cheerleading and dance.
I did all of those three.
Yeah.
I did all of those. Those are like the popular, like younger kids sports.
Right. So I did all of those. And then in high school, middle school and high school, volleyball, softball, basketball, track. I also swam my freshman year. So that was interesting. I was on varsity soccer, but I had to stop playing because the basketball and soccer schedule just conflicted majorly. So
you had to pick one.
Yeah, I had to pick one. So, yeah, those are all the sports I did. It's pretty interesting. I've learned a lot from it.
Yeah, each sport is so different. And, I could only imagine having to learn all the different rules that go into the sports.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Definitely. I did softball off of a limb. I was like, you know what? They have a softball team. Let's join it. I knew no rules. I knew nothing. So I'm in the dugout, like in between innings. And I'm like, so what exactly is happening here? And can you tell me this and explain, like, because what am I doing wrong? Because I know I looked like a chicken with my head off out here.
Oh my goodness. Being in so many different sports, did you find yourself inclined to one sport over the other?
I did. I loved running track and playing volleyball. Those are my two favorite sports.
Yeah.
But it was always good for me to do multiple sports because it kept me fit all year long, Right,
not just during the season.
Yeah, so it's like one season's over, hop into another one. Then over the summer, we're doing summer workouts and whatnot, or like summer leagues, playing volleyball or basketball, So I always stay fit.
Yes, for sure. With like the Olympics going on right now, did you ever picture yourself like running track for the Olympics or something?
See, I did want to run track for the Olympics, but, definitely had to realize what my strong suits were. Like I said, I went to the University of Cincinnati, going for a computer science degree. So I learned pretty quick that computer science is what I wanted to do. And I just stopped caring about sports. I was like, yes, I'm coding. I'm learning 5 different programming languages. Like, this is my thing.
It's like a sport for your brain then.
Right. Exactly.
You have to, I think that's one thing, like adulthood hits you and you're like, I have to figure what I want to do with my life. Because sure, the Olympics could have been cool, but how are you going to like fund yourself and be financially stable, in just your life in general?
Right. Exactly. I do feel like that's a really good thing that I was fortunate to have really good mentors, really good figures in my life to like guide me along that journey. I had people who, like one of my instructors, she really seen, I don't know what she's seen in me, because I swear I was just doing the work that I was supposed to do.
Yeah.
And she's like, you're really good. And I'm like, I'm really just following directions, ma'am. Like,
what else do you want me to do?
She's like, you're really good at this. You should stay in computer science. Like, I can really see you like building a career off of this. And so I just ran with it. And it led me up until this point. And I've been fortunate enough to like enjoy what I'm doing now. So, yeah.
Yeah. I think, just having those people around you saying, like pointing out your strong suits and saying, this is what you're really good at, like stick with this. Cause that's something that you may have not even seen in yourself that you were really good at it unless, that person pointed it out to you.
Right. Exactly. I do feel like, that's something really important to have for sure.
Yeah.
Like just cause I feel like maybe it's just me, but as people, we internalize a lot of our actions or our behaviors and everything that we're doing. And so just having somebody from the outside saying like, okay, you're actually doing awesome. It's like,
yeah,
really? Because like, I feel like I can do more. And it's like, like,
and okay. Maybe you can do more, but you're like succeeding at what you're doing. And, there's always something more to learn, something more to discover, but you're doing really good now, so don't stop and give up, right?
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah.
What made you choose computer science?
So my freshman year of high school, I had to take an introduction to computer science course. And so, like I said, I just was doing the work. I just was programming how I was supposed to program, doing what I knew. My teacher, she was like, you should take AP. And I was like, I don't know about AP, but I'll take the pre-AP class. Like just to dip my feet in it, So I took it and I was awesome at it. And she was like, now you should take dual credit. And I'm like, I'm gonna go ahead and follow your recommendation because like my grades aren't bad. This is something that I enjoy and it's easy and it's boosting my GPA. So why not? Like,
did you get college credit then too with the dual?
I did get college credit. I got 7 credits from the computer science
awesome.
dual credit class. So yeah, it's pretty nice. It was a lot of work, but it definitely was worth it.
Oh, yeah. I did 19 dual credits and it was so nice to go into college with, at least a little bit of credits to say, hey, I've already done this. Like, I'm not taking another math course. I'm not taking another English course. So it's nice to get, those couple out of the way. And then even in your situation, start dipping your toes in to see if you really enjoy something.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. I think AP's dual credit classes, they help so much.
Yeah.
Like I remember taking AP Bio my senior year, AP Literature, and it was just so much. So my senior year, I was literally like, why am I doing this? I don't need to. And then I was like, no, like when I go to college, it'll be so much easier. I won't have to take as much courses. So I was like, this is going to be worth it.
Yes, you're going to thank yourself in the long run for sure.
Right.
Yeah. Now I'm at the point of where I still do like over full-time schedule because I love learning that much. My family calls me a nerd because I love school and just love learning. But now I can take courses that I wouldn't have had the opportunity to take if I had, a full-time schedule. Like I want to take microbiology for fun. I want to take public speaking. There's a couple anatomy courses. So like I wouldn't have been able to take those if I didn't have my dual credits.
Right, exactly. Yeah, I definitely agree. I remember my senior year, I was fortunate enough I think I only needed one credit. It was U.S. history, because I don't know how I just didn't take U.S. history in Texas.
Texas does not offer U.S. history. It's all Texas history.
Yes. So I had to take that course, and the rest of my schedule was free. So I was just taking unnecessary APs, and I got into ceramics. So now I'm like, I love everything ceramics. I love pottery, like the spinning clay on the wheel. That's my thing.
Yes.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Taking like extra courses, because you learn what you like, or you learn maybe I need to learn something in a different way. Like you exercise your brain a lot with just getting outside of your comfort zone.
I agree with that. Do you think that there were certain character traits that the military instilled in you, like discipline or something like that?
Growing up, I do feel like I was pretty disciplined, pretty good child. I think that the military just kind of brought me out of my shell a little bit more, because it's like going to a new school, or like having friends that are new to the school or whatnot. Like it's like it makes you want to be more welcoming to people. So I will say in that sense, like I kind of got out my shell. It's like even now in tech school, we get new students often. So just making sure I welcome them, and I'm like, let me know if you need anything, because I know when I got here, I was confused too. So
right.
just things like that. I also feel like it's been a motivation for me, because it's like I see people, or I have seen people who have been injured or whatnot, and they got better, or I've seen people who have been in really bad places in their career and still excelled and made it through. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think the military does really produce well-rounded military brats. Like we are really like resilient in every situation, and then disciplined, and then we are welcoming, because we know how it feels to be, the new kid, or like the first one, and like we know how those situations feel.
Right, exactly. I do definitely resilient, I will say.
Yes.
There have been a lot of situations that I feel like a lot of us have been through, like a lot of shared experiences, and we've still taken it with the chip on our shoulder, and we still moved on from it, and ultimately learned from the things we've been through. So yeah, I agree.
Did you find any struggles that you experienced growing up?
Struggles. I will say everybody kind of has their own perception of like, oh, your parents are in the military, so like you have it good, or you live this, you must live this kind of life, or you must be like this. And it's like no, can I show you how I am, and come up with like, can I give you my like your own perception of me versus what you think I am? So I do feel like that was kind of a struggle for me. That's about it.
Yeah. And people look at it from the outside, and they don't know the experiences that we go through. And they're like, oh, you get to move all around the world or the country or whatever the situation may be. And you're like, yeah, I get to move, but I have to make new friends every time I move. Like, it's not that all my friends are coming with me each move. So there's different, definitely something that we see inside that many people don't see outside.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely agree, especially with the moving, because it's like every base is different. So you have to learn the base. It's like you have to learn the base. Although we're traveling, it's like at what expense? Like, it's kind of a give or take thing. Because, like, maybe you might go to Texas, which is fun. Everybody loves Texas. It's like, yeah, you go
Yes,
to
who doesn't?
Texas, but then you go to Dayton, Ohio, right, Patterson, and there's not much out there for
It's
a
like the
couple
middle
of
of
miles.
nowhere.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like, you know, it's cool to say you've traveled to a lot of places, but at the same time, it's like it's always a give or take thing.
Yeah, and you don't get to choose where you go.
That too. That too. It's more where the military needs you.
Yes.
More than anything. So
yes, because we can say we want to go to Germany all we want, but 9 times out of 10, we're not going to Germany.
Right.
Right. There are so many cool experiences that the military can give you, but it's like, do you actually get them most of the time?
Right. Exactly. And then I think, especially with families, so me going into the military right now as a single 20-year-old, like, I feel like I can travel more. I can do more things.
Right.
I can get more out of it. But with the family, it is like you can't think about yourself and what you want. So there is that.
Right. Like your mom could have, done so many cool things, and not that deployment is necessarily cool, but like she could have deployed. But she, gave that up because she had a family that she had to think of too. And not everyone gets to make those decisions of, I'm going to stay off of this deployment because the military is like, no, you're not, like you're going. So, but that she had the opportunity to even make that choice, and she had the friends who came in and stepped in. But you do have to think of your family and think of how your decisions you make affect those around you.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. Cause even me, like I said, I am single. I can travel more. If I get deployed, then I can, and it won't affect me as much as or it won't affect my family as much because I'll still be able to call, text,
Right.
They understand that I'm an adult and I'm on my own. But even then it's like, still love my family. I still miss my family. It's like, I want to spend the holidays with them. I want to still have that kind of connection. And I feel like that's the most, that we sacrifice as military members. A lot of quality time that we once had before that we kind of took for granted. So yeah, for sure.
I think a lot of people say, the most common thing is thank you for your sacrifice. Like just the civilian outside world, they see the sacrifice, but they don't see those little sacrifices, or the ones that seem little, but actually are the big ones of leaving your family, missing the holidays, missing that quality time, those kind of experiences.
Yeah, for sure. I feel like even before I got in, I was like, wow, I miss my sister. I remember being in basic training. My sister called me and she's like, what do you want? And I'm like, oh my goodness, I miss you being mean to me. I'm like crying and I'm like, what in the world? I just said I miss her being mean to me. It's like little stuff like that, it's really important. And feel like a lot of people do take it for granted, or they don't realize the weight that your interaction with your family, your friends really holds.
Yeah. And I think that's, I'm not in the military myself. I haven't, been deployed or anything, but I could only imagine, being in another state, being, in training on a deployment and being away from your family. And especially, it's one thing being an adult and being, not having a family, being single, and missing your immediate family that you grew up with, but then it's another thing of being, a mom, a dad, and then, missing milestones of your children. And I don't think those sacrifices are as recognized as the, being in the military. Everyone's like, thank you for your sacrifice. But it's like, well, what sacrifice are you talking about? Like, what are you referencing here?
Like, which one? Because it's a lot. It is a lot. And I definitely agree. Not even just being single. I have some coworkers, colleagues that I'm with today. They have like sons, they have daughters. There's somebody that I know has a newborn on the way, and they can't be there for their daughter's birth. So, it's a lot of sacrifice that we go through, that we deal with. And ultimately it makes us stronger, and it motivates us to continue to be here and push and put our best foot forward for the mission,
Yeah. And I think it creates stronger family bonds too. You cherish those times where you are together than the times when you are apart.
Right. Yeah, for sure. I will say that. I keep on talking about my mom, because she visited me for the 4th of July, because we had a extended weekend. So she visited me for the 4th of July. The trip went kind of bad for her, to say the least. The trip went kind of bad. So we only got to spend a day together versus like 3 days.
Aww.
So even then, like I was telling my sister, I was like, I feel like y'all need to come back, because I know y'all were really stressed out. Like, I know that trip was really stressful for you all, but I was like, I think it's just because Mom was really emotional. Like, she wanted to see me so bad that she just was like she forgot stuff and whatnot. So I was like, I think it's just the emotions. I think now y'all have seen me once. I think it'll be probably better.
Let's try it again.
Yeah, so it's like things like that. Even just one day with my mom and my sisters, like I was like, yeah, definitely ready to go back home.
Yes, for sure. So to wrap this up, what's one piece of advice you would give to a military child, or even a military child who might be thinking of joining?
So some advice. Eat right. Eat right first, because definitely before you ship. Basic training food isn't good. It's not the best. So eat what you like, kind of indulge a little. But on a real note, come in with goals, because you're enlisting for a reason. At the end, this is for a long game. This is not just, maybe for some people, they might think like, okay, I'm going to do my 4 years, I'm going to do my 6, and I'm going to get out. But within that 6 or that 4, what are you going to do to make yourself better? What are you going to do to put yourself in a better situation when you're out, so that you're not looking for a job and you're already like out of the service and you don't have a job lined up already? So think about goals, work on yourself, because although you're enlisting into the military, you're moving away from home, you're like leaving things behind. You're still going to be dealing with the problems that you were dealing with before if you don't work on yourself. I feel like that also it benefits you in the long run, because while you're working, if you have positive mindset, like people get along with you better. So it makes the mission, like working the mission, easier. And you just benefit from it. Your mental health is really important. So work on yourself, create goals, and keep pushing, because enlisting is a long process. And I know for some people it can get discouraging. So keep pushing, stay motivated, and you got it. Love the military. So
yes,
that's all I have.
I think that's great. And thank you so much for being on and sharing your story. And good luck in the Space Force. Like, that's so cool.
Thank you so much. Yeah. Enjoy your night.
Thank you. You too. Thank you all for listening to this week's episode of Grace of a Military Child podcast. If you enjoyed listening, don't forget to follow, like, share, subscribe, review, and comment. You can also follow us at Grace of a Military Child podcast on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram for more podcast-related content. If you or someone you know is a military child who would like to be on the podcast, please send us a message to one of our social media platforms, or you can send an email to grace.of.a.military.child@gmail.com. Tune in next Thursday to hear another incredible journey.